What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of According to the Content. Hope you guys are still continuing to like the videos. With that being said, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. All right, so I'm gonna get right into it. Again, this is just giving a quick recap of some key highlights that stuck out to me in regards to Diddy's trial that's going on right now. Again, I just want to highlight a couple aspects of the trial that stood out to me. So again, this isn't going to be a super in-depth, detailed analysis of what happened this past week in this trial. Again, this is just my thoughts. Again, there's no shortage of that content that's out there, so you guys are more than welcome to go watch it, listen to it, enjoy your own conclusions about it. So let's get into it. All right, so it's week 3 of the trial. I know it's only been 2 weeks of like testimony, opening statements, etc., etc., but I count the jury selection as week 1. So um, again, things kicked off this past Monday, May 19th, with testimony from former Making the Band and Dirty Money alum Don Richards, who also has a civil suit against Sean Combs as well. Now, she testified on Monday that she had seen Combs be violent with Cassie on several occasions over the years and allegedly witnessed an incident that involved Combs trying to attack Cassie with a skillet. Now, Dawn at one point said she even feared for her safety and corroborated that Combs was indeed violent towards Cassie, as Cassie had mentioned in not only her civil suit, but in her testimony when she took the stand in the previous week of the trial. Once again, I feel like Diddy got a win in court because on the cross examination by his brilliant lawyer, Nicole Westmoreland, she was able to point out some inconsistencies in Dawn's statements and even highlighted the fact that even after all the negative things that Dawn allegedly saw and heard Diddy do, she would still reach out to him and want to work with Diddy. She basically got painted on a stand by Diddy's lawyers to be a liar and somewhat of an opportunist. That's what I took away from her being on the stand this week after she was cross examined. And then over the next few days, the prosecution called a lot of witnesses. They called people like Carrie Morgan, who used to be Cassie's best friend, one of Combs's former personal assistants named David James. They called a few more escorts who were involved in the freak offs, and an HSI agent who was in charge of the Miami mansion raid. Now, this week, it does seem like the prosecution was beginning to put the pieces of the racketeering conspiracy puzzle together. And these witnesses' testimony was just the beginning. So I'm starting to see how they're trying to make their case for racketeering, but we'll see. Now, the highlight of the trial for this week was the testimony of rapper Kid Cudi. Now, Kid Cudi had a brief relationship with Cassie while she and Combs were on a break. Seems like Diddy found out and allegedly made a bold claim about wanting to blow up Kid Cudi's car in his driveway. Kid Cudi's car would eventually be put on fire due to a Molotov cocktail that was thrown inside of it. But to this day, investigators have never been able to apprehend the person or persons responsible for this incident. It was never even tied back to Diddy either, outside of just hearsay and happenstance. Kid Cudi's surprising testimony came because prosecutors are trying to prove at least two of the underlying predicate offenses to prove the racketeering conspiracy charge against Combs. In my opinion, Kid Cudi didn't provide anything, and his testimony didn't really offer any new significant details about his car being set on fire. In fact, when he was cross examined by one of Diddy's lawyers, they even pointed out that the DNA found at the scene was from a woman, which Kid Cudi previously did not know until he was on the stand himself. Diddy's lawyer also had Cuddy confirm that no further updates by investigators about the incident have even been presented to him in the past 13 years since this incident happened. So there you go with that. Now, just a few quick thoughts before I end this video out. Yeah, it's still very early in the trial. Um, I know the prosecutors have a few more weeks. They still have another victim who's going to testify to help bolster their case. I'm assuming that person is going to start their testimony this week. They still are going to bring more witnesses to the stand. And this past week is where I see that they are finally starting to hint at the racketeering and conspiracy allegations against Diddy. And this is the week to me that they actually started trying to make that case, from bringing in the sex workers to bringing in former assistants to bringing in Kid Cudi. So uh, to kind of educate you guys a little bit, to when you bring a racketeering conspiracy charge against someone, uh, you have to prove at least, I think it's two predicate offenses. And Diddy, while he's not charged individually for these offenses, if you read his indictment, they do list allegations like kidnapping, arson, bribery, force and coercion, etc., etc. Well, bringing in got people like Kid Cudi is trying to corroborate the arson charge. Bringing in the former assistants and the best friend is trying to corroborate the violence and force and bribery charges, because they're talking about how Diddy would forcibly use his power to control people and manipulate situations and to hide things, and how he would try to pay off people to hide, what he's allegedly accused of doing. So they're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Again, just me looking at it, not being a legal expert or anything like that. Their case still does not seem to be strong, simply for what they are charging him with. Um, if I were a juror, I can see how someone could put two and two together, but as a juror, that's not how you are supposed to find people guilty or innocent. You have to be proven, you have to be shown some hard, undisputable facts, and the prosecution has got to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And so far, again, this is just my opinion, they're just not proving that. Every time they bring a witness that's on the stand that you think is gonna blow the lid off of this thing and really knock it out of the park, when they get cross-examined, their stories tend to not necessarily change up, but not be as strong as you initially thought. So, again, we'll see. It's very early. Again, this is expected to be, I think, an 8-week trial, and this has only basically been 2 weeks of testimony and starting with the prosecution. So we'll see what happens, man. But anyway, there you have it. Just a quick update about some of the things that stood out to me in Sean Diddy's trial this week. And as always, let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. I'm interested in you guys' thoughts. If I was scoring this trial so far, as if it was a boxing match, I would say round one went to Diddy's team, 10-9, and I would say week two barely, barely, barely again goes to Diddy's team, 10-9, just because they had some great cross examination, and the prosecution's witnesses this week didn't really move the needle for me. But again, I'm not a juror, so we shall see. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for continuing to watch. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you next time with another video on According to the Content. Peace.